evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Skippy Lowe Looks at Hollywood. Tonight, Skippy is giving a tribute to Jackie Gleason. His guests include one of the talented actresses from the original Honeymooners series, Miss Jane Kean. And with her is a fascinating lady who spent over 13 years with Jackie, the love of his life, Miss Honey Merrill Roman. And now, here he is, the man of the half hour, Skippy Lowe.
Jane Kean.
Yes, Skippy.
God, how many years you were with Jackie Gleason?
Well, about 10. But prior to being on the series, I was in vaudeville with him and on Broadway and in summer stock.
With
I
him?
did some.
You've done a lot with him.
Yes, an awful lot. I go
real
way
quick,
back.
I'm going to ask you real quick.
Why quick?
Why? I'm going to ask you because I'm going to do that up front.
Take time.
Why? No, I will.
I have so much to say. What?
Why Jackie Gleason? What kind of a man really was this man, Jackie Gleason?
Well, I think it's very hard to describe Jackie in just one sentence, because to me, he shifted gears somewhere in the middle of his life. And in the old day, when I say old days, we literally appeared in Lowe's one-nighters together when he did a stand-up act. And in the Toots Shor era, where he was so much fun, so full of life, and loved laughs, and loved living, and you know, practical jokes on people. And then with the success, the tremendous success, he became like a household word. Then he shifted gears and became much more serious. I think there was a tremendous responsibility and the weight of the world on his shoulders when you're that big. And I think that happens to so many giant stars.
Now, the Jane Kean, the Kean sisters.
Yes?
Where did you come from?
Where did I come from?
The Kean sisters.
Well,
the vaudeville, I know.
Well, no, we were born in Hartford, Connecticut, and we had a stage mother, and my sister was in show business first. My older sister, and then when Mother thought I was ready, she'd have Betty introduce me as part of her act. So I would get on and get experience that way. And then I got a Broadway show myself called Early to Bed, and then we really worked separately for many years, and then we got together in the...
I didn't know that. I thought you were a teen for a long time.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying never, but we were for 8 years only.
All right.
We were both appearing in a show called Call Me Mister. I was in the New York company. Betty was in the national one, which had Buddy Hackett and Bud Fosse, and Carl Reiner was in her company, the national company, and I was on Broadway. And when the two shows closed, both companies, an agent at GAC suggested we join up and for one shot on Ed Sullivan, and that's what it was supposed to be.
Ed Sullivan made a lot of stars.
Yes.
Even he made Presley, he's made the Beatles.
Well, he had them all on there.
The Beatles really got to thank Elvis Presley. Sitting next to you is your old friend, Honey Merrill Roman.
Yes, yes.
Spent 13 years with Mr. Jackie Gleason.
That's true.
Yes,
13 long years, honey. Tell me about those 13. I mean, how did you meet Mr. Jackie Gleason?
At the auditions.
You were one of
in
his showgirls?
1956, yes, when he was, that season he was putting showgirls on for the first time with the dancers.
Right.
And there were, I think, 4 auditions, starting with about 500 gals at the first one and dwindling down to the 16 that he eventually used, yeah. And that's where I first met him. Yeah.
How did it become the love of your life? I mean, Jackie. When did that happen?
That took a little while, actually.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
It wasn't right away then?
No, I started dating Jack. And then I went to Las Vegas. I worked there as a showgirl for about 3 or 4 months. And then when I came back to New York, that's when we started seeing each other steadily.
You two girls have a lot of memories of this wonderful genius.
I have very fond memories of Honey, and because when I did the show, I started it in Florida in the 60s when they went into color and the hour-long versions and musicals. And Honey was
Those
always...
musicals were great. You were wonderful.
And she
in
was,
those. I loved them.
she was always so wonderful because she was in charge of everything. She was so thoughtful because she'd see that everybody got flowers every week. I know that was her that it instigated the entire thing, and all the Christmas presents that she did, all the shopping and everything.
Started in October.
And she was devoted.
Yeah, she was really devoted to
Yes,
Jackie.
she was. She did everything for
Why didn't you marry him, honey? At 13 years, I mean, You left Jackie. Why didn't you? I mean, he was ready to marry you. Why?
Yes.
Why didn't Honey Merrill marry Jackie Gleason? Is there a reason, or?
Yeah, I think,
Well,
it had a lot to do with the fact that Jack was extremely jealous.
Was he really jealous?
And in my book, I'll go into further detail, but it was really, I think, the jealousy that drove me away at the end. Yeah.
I see.
It was not, as I've seen.
Was he tough to live
so
with?
many. Yeah, I saw the magazine article about that kind of condensed our 13 years together into one line, and it said, "And Honey Merrill got tired of waiting too," you know, and it was not anything like that.
But there was an obstacle in the early years of
very
it, because
beginning, yes.
at that point he could not get a divorce from Genevieve, his first
Right.
wife, who was a very solid Catholic, and in those days it was very difficult to get.
I
Yes,
see.
because
That's
but then when Honey, the way I remember it, when Honey broke up with Jack, she left, the law in New York changed, that if you
No,
haven't
just
lived together, wasn't
no,
it, Summer?
No, it was about 2 years before I left. The New York State divorce law had changed so that you could get a no-fault divorce.
That's it.
But it was not, it could not be retroactive. You had to be separated for 2 years from the date of that.
I see.
So the 2 years would have been September or October 1969, because Jack filed immediately as soon as the new law came into effect. He filed for the divorce. And I left him in April of 69, the end of April, on my birthday in 1969.
There's a singer came along in your life.
Yes.
His name was Dick Roman.
Yes.
Wonderful
Whom I had
singer.
met
Great singer.
just briefly
Very
on
good.
Jack's show.
He was on Jackie's
yes.
show.
Uh-huh.
Marvelous singer.
Yes.
Victimonish type.
Yes, he should have
Yes.
been a major
Well,
What
let's,
happened to Dick Roman?
well, let's say Victimone is Dick Romanish.
Okay. What happened there, Honey Merrill?
Well, we started dating. I had left Jack the end of April, and Richard was appearing, Dick Roman was appearing at the Eden Rock, and I was very busy with my new decorating business, and all of a sudden I paused one day, looked at the newspaper, and I said, wow, Dick is at the Eden Rock. And I called some friends, and it just so happened that he'd been trying to reach me to ask me to come and see the show. So anyway, we started dating. That was in August of '69. And after saying that I was never getting emotionally involved with anyone again as long as I lived, I was married to Richard on December 21st of that same year, 1969. So it was kind
Jane,
Yes.
and Honey, tell me something. Was Jackie difficult at all? His ego, did he get in the way a lot? Would you say?
Well,
at times, but I don't know how Jane feels about that, but I think anybody with that enormous a talent, a person who's so multifaceted, it would be hard for them not to have moments, you know, I mean, when they're going in 14 different directions, when they know how to do everything and they can do just about anything better than anybody else.
Right.
I mean, the lights, the sets, the
Yes.
scenery, the writing, the
Brilliant.
music, the whatever. I mean, naturally, you're going to have moments of impatience with people or whatever, you know.
Jane, how do you feel?
Well, I think he was always very easy on the actors. He
Oh,
was
yeah.
wonderful
really-
to me,
yes.
wonderful
Great
to
respect.
to Art Carney and Audrey.
Art Carney. You're
Yes.
mentioning Art Carney. I want to show this picture of you and Art Carney. Oh, I just love this man. I think he's wonderful.
he was
Sweetheart.
He was
What
really
kind of
wonderful.
man is he to work with, Jane?
Well, he is actually very insecure, very shy, very low-key, and they work so differently, but it was like magic when the two of them, at rehearsals, if they only taped the rehearsals, that would have been something for the public to see.
Good
'cause,
rehearsals.
Oh,
Right.
when they would ad-lib, because they just fit each other, like Laurel and Hardy, it was like that, you know, and all wonderful teamwork. But they seldom socialized after the show. I mean, Jackie
Did
would
that-
go off in his
Did they really? They never
out
did.
limos, no, and that hurt Art. That was,
Yeah,
he was
it did
very
bother him.
sensitive to that.
He was?
Yes, he was. That hurt him very much, because he
He
wanted
never
to be
invited to
close.
go. He never got close with Jackie. Never wanted
when
him close.
Honey
Is that it?
was there after the shows, we always used to go to a restaurant, the whole
Yeah,
group.
after the tape.
But I think Honey instigated a lot of that, where we would all join.
I
But
see.
Yeah.
afterwards, that completely disagree. He
Yeah, I
married
always-
briefly
Right,
on
yes,
the
right.
rebound when Honey left. He married a I don't like to say it.
That's all right.
A lady in the interim before he married Merrill and Taylor. There was a lady that it was an unfortunate marriage because
I wish I had a great deal of guilt through the
yes,
years.
well, and I mean she was just a difficult woman and was not gracious in any way. Once she became Mrs. Gleason, she
Yes.
was the star, and
Had a tattooed on her chest, didn't she?
yes, and the only possible thing, because he always loved beautiful, I mean, he always admired beautiful women.
Did he
and
give
she-
you furnish beautiful gifts, honey Merrill? I mean, I understand he gave you chinchillas, diamonds,
No, never had a
pink
chinchilla.
diamonds. He gave
Yes,
you
I
pink
had
diamonds,
a
yellow
diamond,
canary
yes,
diamonds,
I had a yellow
beautiful
diamond.
jewelry. He was kind.
There wasn't an occasion over the year when Jack would not remember me with some sort of lovely gift, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day,
Yes.
any time of year. And St. Patty's Day, whatever, something green, an emerald. You know? He always did that, and he was always asking me what I wanted, and I'd always say nothing, you know. And because I said nothing, I think really that he used to outdo himself trying to
I
please
love
me.
this picture of you and
I
Jackie
know.
together.
Isn't that nice?
Isn't that a lovely picture?
That is lovely.
You know, she looks like Grace
Kelly?
Kelly.
Hair's
That's right.
darker, yeah.
Grace Kelly. Tell me, where was this taken?
Half Irish,
Where was this
anyway.
at, honey?
That looks like it might have been at an affair that was given for him in New York in 1963. It was supposed to be given earlier, and then that was the day John F. Kennedy
I like
was,
this one. This is my
killed.
favorite
Yes,
shot.
Yes, that's cute,
That's
isn't it?
wonderful of you.
God, was I ever that age?
Isn't that beautiful? I love that.
Was I
Jack-
ever
It was
that
only
young?
last month, wasn't it?
Jackie
Oh,
Gleason's
please.
Where did the
expression.
time go?
That's a great shot.
Snows
Ever that
yesterday.
young?
You went to Paris with him, honey,
3 times, yeah.
but the wonderful movie in France.
Oh, that
We
was
were there
so
for almost
great.
6
Wasn't
months.
that your
in
great
Chicago.
movie?
That was
That's my
great.
husband's favorite.
Favorite. Mine too.
He
Jane,
loved it.
Kean,
Gigo,
it's,
Gigo.
and the name of the
Gene
movie
Kelly
is
directed it.
Chicago.
Gigo.
I
Wasn't
just-
he brilliant?
Brilliant. But
Brilliant.
Jane,
Wrote
well, don't you
and did the
feel?
music,
Don't you?
everything.
Don't you feel? He did. He directed it.
Everything. No,
Music?
Gene Kelly directed.
Directed, but
Oh,
he
yeah. Yeah.
the music.
He wrote the film and starred in it and wrote all the music. Jack did.
He was the closest thing to a chaplain. but
Chaplain,
not-
yes.
yeah.
Don't you believe comics, good comics, are great dramatic actors? Jane?
Very often they are. He happens to be one
It
of
doesn't
them.
go the
yes.
reverse, though.
No, it certainly
Am I
does
right?
not.
It does not go the
Exactly.
reverse.
You don't learn how to do comedy.
Comedy. Yeah, that's right.
But I think one of the great oversights this past year was that he was not nominated for an Oscar for the role he played in that
In Nothing in Common.
in Nothing in Common. He
Yes.
was brilliant.
Yes,
That was
he
some
was.
performance.
Yes, he was.
Little knowing
Little knowing that
that
was his
that's
last.
the way he was going to go.
Yeah.
Jack was
Yeah.
used to oversights. Of course, he never received an Emmy.
I know it.
He
For
never got an
all
Emmy?
of those years of brilliant shows.
Never received an Emmy.
Everyone else on
Art,
the show
got it.
received the Emmys.
Why is
Everybody.
our business unfair, Jane Kean?
Well, I have a theory about Jackie being overlooked, and I think it was his false bravado, the great one and all of that, and that that
Mm-hmm. They
turned
didn't
off
like
the
him.
industry.
No,
Just like
personally,
Mickey
they didn't.
Rooney.
That's right.
And I just
Yes.
done a long tour with him in a play, and he was constantly overlooked until a very insignificant role in The Black Stallion. He should have received it.
Wasn't he
Of
wonderful
course,
in that?
Of course he
Anytime.
should.
He was
Of course.
wonderful in that.
But he has
So
that
great.
kind of attitude, you know.
Yeah.
It's the
And-
facade.
To me, I think on a par with that is the fact that Moonlighting has been overlooked. I think it's the finest show on TV. And Bruce Willis kind of has that cocky attitude. And he's not likely to win any awards either because of that. And yet he's brilliant in, you know, what he does in this
Working with Mickey
characterization.
Rooney.
Yes.
Isn't he, I think he's great.
I think he's brilliant.
The show
That's
you were,
another
how long
brilliant
were you on the
talent.
road with him, Jerry?
Well, we were 3 months in Chicago. It was a show called The Laughs on
The
Me.
Laughs on Me, right.
And Mickey just made it a tour de force
Right.
for himself, you know. And sometimes we would ad-lib, improvise an entire scene. And he'd go to the audience.
Yeah.
And I just think he's marvelous. And his
That's what happened in Los
dramatic
Angeles. That's what
ability.
happened in
Yeah.
Los Angeles with Sugar Babies.
Sugar
he did,
Babies,
he
yes.
did the same thing in L.A. The critics did not like what he did. He went right off the script,
Look
and
how
went right
they-
into it.
Well, look what they did to him on Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the
Reform.
Farm. And I went to
Yeah.
see it, and I laughed my head off.
I think he was wonderful.
Right.
He
I
did it. He
loved
walked
it.
right out and did it.
I mean, it's an
out of
old
the-
show.
Yeah.
A lot of those shows do not hold up.
They
No.
don't. No.
I mean, they get dated.
Follies.
Follies.
Oh,
I
what a
love
show.
that. Oh.
Broadway. Ah.
Yes, now it's a big
Yes.
hit in London. I would love to have done it there.
You went to Australia.
I did.
Did you?
You know, the British equity and Australian equity are very tough on Americans. I
Yeah.
mean, they only allow
I
so
want
many.
to sit that and talk about that right
Yes,
now.
yes,
Jane
it's
Kean,
unfortunate.
why the England and, you know, they're so tough on us, and they come here, invade
Entire
our
companies.
country,
Yep.
invade our country.
Because we're
and
dumb.
take it over.
I know.
And they work in our country,
Yeah.
and we don't do nothing about it.
I know. Well,
But
here was
we-
my experience. I had done this play, The Mind with the Dirty Man, in Vegas, which was, it broke all records.
At the
It
That was
lasted a
very
year.
good. I saw
At the
you.
Plaza.
It was
So
very good.
my husband, Joe, played
Yes,
part of the
right.
priest in it.
He was excellent,
And
too.
they were going to, they took me over there. They brought me and Kean and Wynn to play the male part. And my husband was going to play his role again as the priest. But they had an American director who went with us, who had done it in Vegas. And when we got there, they had paid all Joe's expenses and all. They did not allow him to play it.